smokes, this guy was just ready at all times. He was so fun to watch because, like I said, if you threw him a pitch in the zone, he didn't miss it.
Not to make it political, but if Frank Catalanatto has the vote, are those two guys in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that, because of the steroid era, it goes back and forth. But to Bill and I we both always felt these guys were Hall of Famers before anything had ever come out about them. They were just stars early in their career as well. But just curious about your take as someone that played against them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is this, like, I saw it with my own two eyes. Like, these guys were Hall of Fame players. It happened. We can't just pretend like this didn't happen. I do understand that they might be steroid guys, but I always said, there are guys that got into the Hall of Fame that are steroid guys, right? So we can't just pick and choose who we put in there. So why not just, if they have the numbers, get them in there? And if you want to make a wing at the Hall of Fame that says they played during this time period, let's call it 1995 to 2005, or whatever you deem the steroid era, you can say that. You don't have to label it these are the steroid guys, because you know what? You don't know. You can, as the fan, you can go in there and say, hey, I think this guy did steroids, or I don't think he did. But they should definitely be in that museum because they did some awesome things.
Now, what about Pete Rose? Now, especially right now, because sports betting is legal now.
Yeah. Especially in our area.
Especially in our area. It's like, dude, I bet the Knicks yesterday. What idiot bets the Knicks?
That's funny. Yeah, but Pete Rose, absolutely. Unfortunately, it's like, we're trying to only put nice guys in the Hall of Fame, and that shouldn't be the situation. It should be, if you were a great baseball player and you deserve to be on your baseball statistics, then I think you should be a Hall of Famer. Just because, a guy might not be a nice guy, or a guy might have done something wrong off the field, I don't think that should weigh in.
The whole idea of the Hall of Fame is to show the history of the game.
Yeah.
How can you not have the all-time hits leader and the all-time home run leader not be represented in the Hall of Fame?
It's just odd.
Yeah.
One last question from me.
That's what you said before, Jerry.
I know, but I came up with another one. Just because, as a baseball fan growing up, one of my favorite players ever was Tony Gwynn. I always just admired the way he played. And sometimes I look around baseball now, and I wonder if he'd even get a look, if he'd even get an opportunity to play, because he doesn't. Because to be honest, he didn't strike out. He played the game in a different way, where put the bat on the ball. Not very dissimilar to the way you played, Frank. Do you feel like the game would be very, very different for you to try to make now than when you got into the league?
Yeah.
And are you better than Tony Gwynn?
No, I'm not better than Tony Gwynn. But the game is totally different now, right? Like, they're looking for these guys that hit the ball 500 feet or throw the ball 105 miles an hour. I understand what you're saying. Like, small ball, we don't see small ball. We don't see a lot of guys that go the other way and hit, gets base hits, singles and stuff like that. So
they've got these shifts, and you can hit right into them. I mean,
and you can't tell me Greg Maddux, who didn't throw 100, can't pitch in this era.
Exactly.
And you can't tell me that you wouldn't hit 300 in a season, Frank. And you can't tell me that Tony Gwynn wouldn't do the same. I know that they're looking for different things. I'm not saying I don't appreciate baseball the way it is now. I just loved it the way it was then.
Yeah, so. I think it was so much better back when we were growing up. I don't like the way the game's played now. Even watching a game, it's just not as fun. Like, I like the bunting, the hit and run, the strategy. And now it's like guys are striking out all the time. Mm-hmm. It's either a home run or a strikeout. It's just not the baseball that we grew up watching.
Quality outs were very important back then, and they meant something. Moving a runner over, just basic things, fundamentals, pulling the ball at the right time, going the other way at the right time. These were things that were really important, and I feel like baseball loses a little bit of that fundamentalism that made it so special. I don't know, in that respect. Not that it's not a great game. It just, I appreciated it much more from when I was a younger guy watching it. There's something so special about it to me.
I agree.
And you watch best game I ever went to, regular season game, honestly, was a Met Cardinal game in 1985. Okay. It was Gooden versus Tudor at Shea. I'm a Yankee fan, but it was Gooden versus Tudor at Shea. And there was a 4-hitter versus a 2-hitter and the strikeouts, but it wasn't bad hitting. It was just great pitching and 2 pitchers that went 9. And you're like, I miss that. I miss the guy that doesn't just throw, but he pitches. And there's something special about that. And I feel like now we ask the guy to give you the best 5 innings you got or 4 1/3 in the playoffs because we got to pull you now because the guy got on.
Yep.
And you're like, wow, let this guy battle a little bit. Let this guy want this game. Let him fight to stay in. And you don't see it as much as you used to.
You don't see it. Yeah.
Now, quick question. I know it was towards the end of his career and the beginning of yours. Earlier today, we lost Gerald Williams. 55 years old, passed away from cancer. Did you know Gerald at all?
I did. I didn't realize he passed away. That's awful.
He passed away. Actually, Jeter, put it in his, in his blog and stuff, mentioning it because I know they were very close. And he passed away from cancer, 55 years old.
Gosh,
did you?
Terrible. I knew him just from playing against him. I never played with him.
Right.
So I knew him to say hi and stuff like that. He was always a nice guy.
Yeah.
And that's terrible news. Way too young.
Sorry to bring you down.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm a jerk.
Hey, who's the good news bear? Oh, it's Bill. That's right. It's funny because when he came up at about the same time as Bernie, and he was supposedly the higher prospect. Obviously, right. Bernie had a great career, and Gerald, he's lasted in the league for 14 years. And it wasn't like he didn't play. He certainly played, but it was kind of funny. Gerald was that 5-tool guy, just the way it kind of worked out. It just a little bit crazy. We're with Frank Catalanatto. Frank, we really appreciate the time that you've given us so far. We really.
My wife just called to yell at me that I'm yelling. She's upstairs. You want to talk a little football, Frank? Or you have to bail.
Sure, that's fine. I'm good.
Cool. Are you a local football fan, Giant, Jet, or who are you a fan of?
Unfortunately, I'm a Jet fan.
That makes 2 of us. Okay.
Hey, listen, I can't say much because the Giants suck now too. Holy crow!
We are undefeated in Super Bowl play. We are 1-0. The Giants cannot say that.
That's right.
And I was not born when they won, but nonetheless, I was born 2 years later, so I missed it by 2 years and 10 months. But nonetheless.
Now, going forward, the draft, they've got the number 4 and the number 10 pick. Where do you want to see them go with those?
Listen, every year I have an opinion, and
like every other,
they go the other way, which doesn't make sense.
And they always go the other way. They and the Jets, as you guys know, haven't been very good in the draft lately. It seems to me like they need a lot of help, a lot of things, right? So I would say, more guys on the offensive line, to protect Wilson. I think that would be big. I mean, a lot of times we want to see the sexy picks, the running backs or the wide receivers, but we need to protect this kid just to see if he is what they say, he is.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. The same thing with the Giants. Even the years when I was like, okay, no sexy pick this year. Let's just take care of the hogs. Let's fill the holes, in the lines. And then they go out and they draft a receiver, which they didn't even need at that time. So, we're in the same boat. We really, really, I think we're worse than you guys are right now.
We were a little more exciting to watch at the end of the year than the Giants
were.
That's
true.
I mean, that's the only thing you'll say. I mean, I agree with you, Frank. I mean, it's about controlling the line of scrimmage. You watch the 49ers play or teams like this that don't seem like they have a ton of offensive talent, but because their offensive line is good and because their defensive line can control a game, they're in every game. And it's something that, people always everybody wants the sexy pick and everybody wants that speed receiver and all that stuff, but you can't win unless you can control the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Yeah. So who does Frank Catalanatto like to win the Super Bowl?
So
and why?
I've gone back and forth with this a few times, but I'm going to go with what I thought initially, right after the games a week and a half ago. I'm going to go with Joe Burrow and the Bengals.
Yep.
Just because of the it factor right now, like he's hot as could be. They're confident as could be, and I know that in sports, when you're confident, you can throw everything else out the window. On paper, I think the Rams are the better team.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I've gone back and forth. I'm like, all right, the Rams all the way through are better defensively. They have Aaron Donald, but I'm going to go with Burrow.
The guy got sacked 9 times against Tennessee, and they still won the football game. How do you do that?
I know.
And he got away from Chris Jones twice, who's not exactly a slouch as a defensive tackle on the Chiefs. Jones had him in his grasp, and Burrow pulled his best Eli Manning and got away twice and was able to complete passes on both plays. Well, one was a scramble, one was a pass completion. And it is the year of the tiger in Chinese New Year. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. Okay. There's a lot of little subtleties that lead to the Bengals. I agree.
Okay.
The stuff. Here's another question. I don't know if they figured it out, but do the Bengals take the Rams dressing room just to get on their nerves? That was like a big thing because they're the home team.
I would do it.
They can kick the Rams out of their dressing room.
They should do that. It's not going to happen, but I like where you're going there. They should make a stink about it.
Yeah, piss them off, make them angry, and move on from there.
Make them dress in the visitor dressing room. Make them feel like it's not their home stadium.
Right. Who are you going with, Porterhouse?
I'm rooting for the Bengals. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Matt Stafford has had a pretty rough career in Detroit all those years. And, you sit there on Thanksgiving every year and you kind of feel bad for Detroit. And like you felt bad for Barry Sanders for all those years and Calvin Johnson and then Matthew Stafford. So there's something about them. And Cincinnati's weakness is that O-line. It really is.
Yeah.
And the Rams' strength is that D-line. But I do think that the second half team that is the Bengals will find a way to come back. I think the Rams will lead and the Bengals will come back and take it.
Look how they shut down Mahomes in the second half. They were Swiss cheese in the first half. Second half, they gave him nothing.
They dropped 8. And the whole game turned on that one. I mean, obviously the 2-point conversion, the play from the 1-yard line obviously was kind of
huge,
insane, right?
Yeah.
But the first drive of the second half, Chiefs get the ball first, even though, they didn't score. They get the ball first. Throw it past the Hill, he drops it. Throw it past the Kelsey, off his hands. Punt 3 and out, and you're like, wow, the momentum has completely switched. They had a chance to get the momentum back, and their 2 best players didn't deliver. And then after that, Mahomes just looked rattled. He just did not look like he was he didn't look sure of himself. Looked like he was playing not to lose rather than to win and just trying to, I don't know. He didn't have the swagger, that he had in the first half or the week prior against Buffalo, which might have been one of the best games any of us ever saw, So,
right.
Totally different. What about you, Powers? Where are you leaning?
I'll tell you what, it's tough. I would love to see Matthew Stafford win only because, I mean, the guy's been in the league how long? And he's only been like in one playoff or something like that with Detroit. So I would love to see him win a Super Bowl. But the Bengals, man, they're a Cinderella story, Believe it or not, your Jets beat them. And
that's the funniest part of the whole thing. We beat the Titans and the Bengals, right?
Really? Me and my son went to the game, and we're both like looking at each other. Do we really want to go? It's like, screw it. We'll just go and have a good time. Dad and his son out for the day. And we're like, holy crap. Look at this. It's actually a fun game to watch. But I don't think Mixon's going to have a big game. I think the line's going to keep him from getting through. But I think I'm going to go Bengals 27-24.
Well, I think it's about a 3 or 4 point game as well. And the same thing. I think if the Rams do try to go man to man and they do try to have Jalen Ramsey cover Chase, it'll be somewhat of a mistake. I think they're going to have to put somebody over the top just because I'm not saying that Ramsey isn't a great cornerback, but Devontae Adams, I'm sorry, not Devontae Adams. Who did they play last week? Deebo Samuel seemed to play well against him. I had the wrong team. Sorry about that. It seems like he's a really tough. It's really tough to cover some of these great receivers man to man the entire game. So I think that the Rams are going to have to disguise their defense a little bit and not go straight up. Otherwise, it's going to have to come down to. And if they do that, it's going to come down to if T. Higgins can have that big game.
Yep.
They're going to need somebody else make the plays.
I think Boyd needs to have
if the Rams are smart, that's what they'll do,
Yeah.
And the other way, the same thing. Cincinnati, they're not going to be able to stop completely Cooper Kupp, who's become, I don't know, one of the top 2 or 3 receivers in the entire game. And